with the City of London Girls' School, we have an in-person session, but obviously we can't do that this year. So what we've decided to do for you at Unruly is record a video with some of the greatest females that we've got working for us at Unruly. So I hope you enjoy the session. For those of you that don't know me, my name's Lou Nyland. I'm the Global Marketing Director here at Unruly, and I'm going to ask each one of our fabulous guests to introduce themselves. So starting off with Jess, can you tell the girls what you do at Unruly and how you got to get that job?
Yeah, so hi everyone, I'm Jess. I am the Director of Global Trust at Unruly and also the UK Ops Director, so a bit of a dual role. I've been at Unruly for about 6.5 years, and I actually came here when Unruly was still kind of a startup. And I came from another startup, came over via a contact who knew Sarah, the founder of Unruly. And I started my time at Unruly as a digital brand safety officer, which was a very new role in ad tech at the time. And that role has been fantastic for me and has really allowed me to kind of grow and expand my role and get me to where I am now.
Hi, I'm Z or Zainab. I'm the Global Creative and Brand Strategy Director at Unruly. I joined Unruly about 5 years ago. I had just moved to London from Mumbai, and I was looking out. I was already working in sort of the design and creative space for about 10 years before I moved to London. And I just was looking for a really nice, fun sort of company to join with a great culture, some amazing people. And the minute I sort of stepped into Unruly for my interview, fell in love with the company and the team. I started as a senior designer, but in the last 5 years, the company has changed a lot, and that's allowed me to sort of evolve my role and grow into the director in the company now.
Great. Yeah, so my name is Ashley Bateman. I'm the UK Sales Director for Unruly. So I've been at Unruly for about 4 years, and agree with Z, it changes every single year, and is super busy all the time. So it feels like it's been less than that, but it's gone really quickly. I had quite an interesting path to where I am today. So I finished school, really enjoyed performing arts and drama, so didn't really know what I wanted to do when I went to further in my career and also at uni, so I decided to do a drama degree, which I really enjoyed, but then finishing that kind of didn't really understand what I wanted to do, didn't want to be an actor, so I went to a graduate recruitment bureau, and from there we did lots of kind of group interviews. They placed us all in various different rooms, and I was told that I'd be good at sales, which at the time I was kind of a bit miffed at because I wanted to go into marketing more. But from there, they managed to get me a job, and I started my career in sales, which I actually really enjoyed. Also, I think my drama degree really helped me with my confidence, public speaking, building relationships. So it's quite good that I could leverage some of the skills that I had got at uni. And then from started in a media trade press magazine called Marketing Week, did sales for conferences there, and from there moved to Microsoft, did various different roles within media, which got me to Unruly, where I started as a group head, selling the media and all of our Unruly products to media agencies, and kind of worked my way up to sales director today.
Rebecca, last but not least, let's hear from you.
My career story's got some twists and turns, a bit like Ash's. So I studied English at university. When I left, I hadn't really thought about jobs at all. I was pretty clueless. I assumed I was going to do something involving books. It was quite a hard time to get a job anyway because it was the recession. So I did lots of random things like work experience and internships in the publishing industry. And then I heard about this. It's an EU program, a bit like Erasmus, but for jobs. I've forgotten what it's called now, but it's like an exchange program. And I got to work in France for a few months at a wine magazine. And then through a family friend, someone mentioned this job at Comscore, and that was my first steady job that I decided to take. They're describing it to me. They're like, you're an expert in like this research product that we sell. You explain it to loads of people, you go to meetings, you have clients, and half of it was a Spanish speaking job, which I was really interested in as well. So I was like, actually, do you know what? I'm just going to go for it. And it was really quite an impulse decision to do something that was a bit different from what I thought I wanted to do. And through that, I got into market research in the digital industry, and I actually worked with Ash at Microsoft for a short amount of time, and then came to Unruly. And Unruly, I think my manager at the time, I knew him from Comscore because he was my client, and that's also how I got my job at Microsoft, through a client. So my manager at Unruly really took a chance on me because I was brought on to do a role which was all about analysing creative, whereas what I had done in my previous jobs was a bit more dry and it was a bit more like analysing website traffic. So that's how I got to Unruly. And since then, I've been there for quite a long time, 6.5 years, like Jess, and like everyone's saying, Unruly it changes every year. You grow with the company, and yeah, you don't get bored.
Hi everyone, I'm Nikki. I've been at Unruly for about 5.5 years now. I am responsible for running the Global Client Council here at Unruly. So it's a collection of 27 individuals from big companies like P&G, Unilever, some of the leading agency groups, and some of our headlining industry bodies like the WFA. So we get together a few times a year and we talk about all the big things happening in the industry and essentially how we can work together to make things better. And then I also run as a point person for our relationship with some of those key accounts commercially as well.
Hi, everyone. I'm Livnat. I know it sounds weird, but everybody calls me Libby. I've been in Taptica or Tremor International organization for almost 8 years now, 7.5 years. In my last couple of years, I've been working in the company as a managing director of the whole Taptica business, which is the performance branch of the Tremor International group, within it Unruly as well, which is located mostly in the UK. So it's a pleasure to meet you. If you can hear my accent, I'm from Israel.
Hi everyone, my name is Liron. It's Liron. I know it's a hard one. And I'm originally from Israel. I'm currently living in the United States, in San Francisco to be exact, working as a VP of Taptica in North America. And I'm working with the company's top clients that are based in the US. And I can talk forever about what we do here, but in a nutshell, Taptica is the global mobile advertising company. We work with advertisers who are clients. And on the other end, we work with the publishers, our suppliers. And we connect the two worlds in one single arena. We are focused on connecting our clients, the advertisers, with the digital spaces where their mobile ads will eventually be promoted.
Oh, thanks for sharing that with us. I think one of the things that I think is a major takeaway from all of this is when we're discussing everybody's sort of like trajectory is that, you know, you can study one thing at uni or have something as your passion, but you can do something totally different as a job. And even when you start in the world of work, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're like stuck in what you first get into. If you get into a good organization, there's room to pivot and move around. So I'm going to start with you, Z. How do you how has your role sort of evolved from when you first came in as a senior designer to now? Can you tell us a little bit more detail how that happened for you?
Yeah, so I think when I joined Unruly, it was still sort of pivoting from like startup mode to just sort of growing into a bigger structure. And I think I was probably one of the first people on the team who was hired at a senior level. Everyone else had like started as an intern and just grown their way with the company. And my job sort of expected me to sort of consolidate and bring together the brand. and sort of just bring together all the visual elements of the brand, which had grown organically. But yeah, 1 year into being at Unruly, my manager decided to move on, and I just had to step up, and that organically sort of changed my role and the responsibility. I took on the mentorship and leadership of the team. And that was actually one of the biggest sort of pivotal moments where my role drastically changed. I started, sort of interacting with more senior leadership in the business. And I think just based on my nature and my interests, I've always been a creative person at heart, but also had like a little more of a strategic incline. So I started getting involved in more strategic conversations and business decisions, started working more closely with the CMO at the time. And then the role just sort of started evolving. And now the creative team is almost integrated into the marketing team. And that happened. And the way this team is structured now is we structure ourselves as a strategy / creative, sort of involvement, and sort of position ourselves as solving or helping solve business problems through creative and design thinking methodologies. So I think a part of it is the business evolving and you sort of looking at opportunities present in the business and how you can sort of contribute. And part of it is taking your own sort of areas of interest and trying to sort of slot fit them and allowing and creating room for yourself to grow and carving your own career path as the business sort of evolves.
I think given that my title is head of strategy, I want to say that it had been some amazing strategic plan that I had in place for a long time and that it's been successful, but sadly that would be a lie. I mean, at university I studied English and drama, so I actually wanted to go into I wanted to go to script writing and acting, but actually what happened was I used those skills to work in the advertising world and do presentations and kind of big conferences and speaking events in front of our clients. So I suppose there is a correlation there. I was very interested in the world of journalism, and my first role was within National Press, which was over 20 years ago now. So they really were the leading titles. It was before social media and that kind of thing. I wanted to understand a bit more about quality journalism, how the media worked. And one of the best entry points to doing that was through advertising. So I started off there and learnt about that world. And very quickly, I got another opportunity to work in a different department and to work with some of the bigger clients that they had at that organisation. And again, back to the point, I just really enjoyed learning from clients and understanding what was important to their business and then trying to fit the pieces together and see where we could do better work between. And that led me on to working in women's magazines for a long time. And at that point, the digital landscape really started to explode. And the things that you could do in terms of engaging, interacting with audiences in digital, it just seemed fascinating to me. And I wanted to learn more. So I took a role that was working specifically in digital and then mobile. And then that took me on the path to Unruly, which was the next big thing, I guess, the birth of video and that landscape there.
That's so good, and it's so nice to hear about sort of like the fact that you sort of pivoted and changed throughout your career, because I think sometimes, especially when you're younger, you think that what you have this idea that you're going to do sort of your career for the rest of your life, and things don't necessarily always work out that way. So it's great to hear that you can start off in one area, and my career is a bit like that as well. Like I started agency side and I did that for a while, and then I moved over to work for media owners, and then within media owners I had a couple of different jobs, and now I kind of firmly got myself stuck into marketing. So I think that the vast majority of people now have, instead of like a straight line for their career, it's a bit of a squiggly line, isn't it? It kind of goes up like that, as opposed to like this very clear, smooth trajectory.
So how did I get to the place where I am now? A lot of hard work. I could tell you that. I've actually started working in the company when I was 26. I'm 34 years old now. And it was my second like serious working place that I had since finishing my studies in the university. I had a BA, or I did a BA, a bachelor's degree in psychology and business administration. I didn't know then that this is what I wanted to do, that I wanted to work within the online marketing industry, user acquisition industry. And it's something that I stumbled upon accidentally from a friend from the university who was working in a company in the industry. And she said, listen, this is amazing, this industry, you have to go in it. You'll find your place there. And indeed I have. So I started as an account manager with no experience, nothing basically. Just a positive attitude, and I guess a wish to succeed, and find a place that I can feel fulfilled and successful at. And I even had a tiny dream of finding a company that I can do a relocation with, to work in the US at some point, or at some other country than the one that I'm from, in Israel. And a few years later, I also got to fulfill that wish. So I started as a junior position as an account manager, and slowly built my way up. I had 4 years of junior positions, if you will. Starting positions, did a lot of different roles in the company. And when the opportunity rose to have a relocation to the US office, I remember that my manager told us in one of the meetings that they are looking for someone in the San Francisco office, and if we know of anyone that could be relevant, as well as them looking over there. And I just took all the courage I had, and I went to my manager and told him, listen, I want to be that person. I want to relocate to San Francisco. And lucky enough, 2 weeks after, I was already on the plane to San Francisco. I was never there before that flight. And I think that completely changed my perspective of things, my managerial abilities, which I was able to perform later on. But it was just a tiny bit of courage, ambition, and a long dream of mine that changed everything, and hard work. That's it, just patience, I guess, as well.
So first of all, I must say that I'm coming from a completely different field. I used to work for the Israeli Prime Minister office when I was at university, and shortly after I graduated. But then I decided that I wanted to make a big shift in my life, and to go into tech business. I was always super passionate about tech and the opportunities this world has to offer. So eventually I just decided to jump into the water, and started to work for Taptica a little over 4 years now. I started my career at Taptica as a client success manager. So it's from scratch, learning all the basics, gaining experience in this new industry. And I realized right from the beginning how fast and agile this industry is. So in my eyes, it was all about just catching up fast and growing every day. I never settled down in one role, and I never felt like it was just enough for me. I always ask questions, and never stop exploring the industry, trying to understand what other teams and companies were doing. And I think that for a young employee, these things don't go by unnoticed. And eventually it paid off. And I was promoted to be a team leader at Taptica. Yeah, and I think that also from the very beginning, I was very vocal and transparent about my dreams and desires. I had always known that I wanted to relocate for a few years to live and work abroad, and I had shared my plans with my supervisors not so long actually after I started to work for Taptica. And then I've sort of built my knowledge and experience to a place where I could contribute and act as a valuable asset to one of our branches abroad. And yeah, as cliche as it sounds, but I think that when you set clear goals and make sure to remind yourself every day what they are, then you move in the right direction. And of course, it's all fine to switch and adjust your goals from time to time. We evolve, we grow, we learn things on ourselves along the way. Therefore, our desires can also grow into different directions. So yeah, it was quite an interesting journey for me, and I think that eventually it always just goes back to just chase your dreams, chase your passions and desires, and just keep pushing forward, moving forward all the time.
And coming to you, Ash, one of the things that you sort of spoke about was that you studied drama, but now you work in sales. So how did you sort of, you talked about this sort of finding this company and stuff like that, but did you want to be an actress? Was that your ultimate goal when you were a kid? Like you were thinking, that's what I want to study at uni? And then, how have you then adapted and used those skills that from things that you were good at in your day-to-day role?
Yeah, well, yeah, I think it's a tough one because to go to uni, you've got to be good in subjects to get those grades. And I got an A in performing arts, an A in drama. The other subjects I was probably quite mediocre in. So going to uni, I just wanted to go for the experience. I knew that the drama course was be fun, and meet a lot of new people. But yeah, it was just felt like a natural progression. And I think, that the main thing was I didn't put too much pressure on myself. I knew I was good at drama. I really enjoyed doing it. Next step was go to uni, have the best experience, and then, kind of figure it out when you finish. And it was quite tough when you finish because people think you're going to be a director or an actress or go and perform at the West End, but the competition is massive for that, and there's lots of competition that they'd be going to drama school since they were like 5 years old, and it's not something I didn't necessarily like the structure of that job as well. I like security, I wanted a 9-to-5 job, and I just wanted I also loved the business world as well. So I think it was quite a natural fit. And although I didn't necessarily think it at the time, that sales is a good fit, but on doing it, I realized I had lots of skills that would really help me. So definitely with drama, confidence, being able to speak to people, articulate yourself. But I think also it was not just the skills I learned at uni, but the innate skills in me that helped me succeed in sales. So I'm quite competitive. I'm very, very social as well. So sales works really well for that. Meeting clients, talking to people on the phone, having meetings. So yeah, I think it was a bit of a mix of both. Like my drama degree really helped me. But also I had lots of other skills that I really enjoyed, like meeting people and social skills that helped me get to where I am today as well. So yeah, I think it's a mix of both really. And I think at the time, back then your degrees were really looked at. So I couldn't go into an engineering role with the Yeah, exactly. So I had to be careful about what the roles I would realistically get. And what I did is I basically just span my my core skills that I learned on my degree, and then just switched them over into how that would make me succeed in that particular role. And yeah, I mean, I remember at the role for Unruly, I still kind of highlighted all of the great things that I learned at uni and that intense 3-year training, and how those skills will really help me succeed in my role today as well.
I think that's a really, really valid point. I think, you know, I think unless you want to do something in your career that's really sort of linked. So obviously, if you want to be a doctor, then you have to study medicine.
Yeah.
There's no way around that. If you want to be a lawyer, then you're going to have to study law. But there's so many jobs out there now, especially with, you know, the rise of the service industries and like the technology and the internet, where you actually, it doesn't necessarily matter so much what you study, but it's the skills that you hone at university which are going to get yourself through. So whether that's confidence in public speaking, at presenting, whether it's like, you know, being organised and you know, managing deadlines, that's something that's really important in Z's team, for instance. Like there's lots of events and they have to get the creative ready for those events, and that deadline's going to happen. So the same way that you manage yourself to get your essay done, you have to bring that sort of rigor through if you're working on it. Yeah, work ethic, and you do need a strong one.
This is a really interesting question, and I can speak from my own experience. I think that eventually you can have a BA, MA, and a PhD in a lot of fields, but it all comes down to how you prioritize your work and how good your work ethics is. Of course, having an academic degree opens lots of doors and is crucial for building your career. And again, I'm speaking from my own experience. I have a BA in communication and management, but sometimes walking through those doors comes down to your ethics and attitude. Even looking at the people on my team, we all have different educational backgrounds. So from my experience, having a can-do attitude and constantly thinking how you can improve yourself as an employee is what really helping, in my eyes, in developing a successful career.
Jessica, I'm going to turn to you now. So one of the things that I think is really important about the world of work is like managing challenges and obstacles that potentially you might face. You know, throughout your career, obviously you came into Unruly and you came into a role that didn't really, it's like a bit nascent in the industry, and then you've now grown to the lofty heights that you're now at. You know, what challenges have you faced along the way, and how have you managed to sort of overcome them?
Yeah, no, that's a really good question. And yeah, when I first joined Unruly, and this is something that I always say to people when they join now, is I had come from a totally different background. So I actually also did a drama degree, which is weird. I didn't know that Ash did that.
Oh, yeah.
You know what's funny about this? Nikki, I did an interview with Nikki this morning, and Nikki did a drama degree too.
We could do a little drama.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't ask. We should have been in that work and time, really.
Have volunteered for school.
Yeah. Yeah.
Who knew?
Yeah, very, very strange. But yeah, same as Ash, absolutely loved it, came out. And then I actually went and worked on for a starter, but my job was I was an editor on a children's magazine. And I did that for a few years before Unruly. So when I came to Unruly, I really knew nothing about ad tech. And when I say nothing, I mean nothing. I kind of came in, you know, based on lots of transferable skills I had. I had managed to get some really good contact, and that really helped me. But the first 6 months at Unruly was extremely challenging because, you know, I was thrown into this world where everyone was using acronyms and different names for things and describing things that I'd really never heard of before. And it really did take me 6 months to just understand what the business did. And that was a really challenging time and quite a scary time because, you know, there were moments where, you know, I knew that my manager had kind of taken a real chance on me, and I really wanted to prove myself, but I did have a really steep learning curve. But you know, thankfully I was surrounded by really supportive people, and I was able to kind of just, you know, put on a brave face, take each day as it came, really throw myself into all of the training that was available, do a lot of training and learning in my own time. And I think most importantly, just not be afraid to say that I didn't understand things. I think that's something that's always really helped. Is I think, you know, when you come out of uni or school and you go into a job, inevitably, you're probably not going to know much about that industry or that job. And, you know, I'm sure if I was to move jobs now, it would be exactly the same thing again. I think just being able to be honest and not afraid to ask for help and say when you don't understand something is something that's always kind of stood me in good stead. And certainly, you know, as the other girls have touched on, you know, Unruly has gone through huge amounts of change, which actually has made my role, and I'm sure everyone else, is really exciting. It certainly never goes stale at Unruly. But, you know, those changes do require a lot of resilience. And I think that's another really good thing that's kind of helped me along the way, is just trying to remain positive and willing to learn all the way. You know, even now I'm still learning every single day, and being kind of willing and enthusiastic about doing that has definitely helped me kind of overcome the challenges that have come along the way.
I think that's a great thing. I think one of the things that we talk about at Unruly is being agile and the ability to adapt and change with anything that's thrown at you. Even though sometimes it can be quite a hectic place to work, and I think we all sort of, you know, allude to that when we talk about our working environment. That actually, in a sense, has probably helped us all in our ability to do our job to the best of our ability, because we work in a company where there is actually a constant state of flux, and we always are having to adapt and change to whatever the industry is throwing at us. And I personally think that that's made me very good at what I do, because I don't have the ability to rest on my laurels and just do the same thing over and over again, because that's not going to wash.
With the dreams comes the reality, right? So I dreamt of relocating to the US, and let me tell you, moving to another country by yourself is not easy. It was difficult. I had a lot of phone calls with my family where I was crying to them over the phone, saying that maybe this was a mistake, and I don't know if I have it within me. And my family was very supportive at the time and said, just give it a try. What's the worst that can happen? You'll come back. It's fine. And I did do that. It was a challenge, though, in the beginning. And I'm happy, obviously, that I made it through. I pushed through. I think another obstacle was seeing other people being promoted before me, or maybe not even reaching the salary level that I wanted to, at least in the beginning or in the first few years. And it's something that I could have just given up at the time. But I think it was the patience that got me through it all, and me keeping my eyes on the prize and knowing I had a sense within myself that I'll be able to accomplish something big here. And I feel today that I have. I think this was one of the main obstacles, and also releasing fears, right? I feel like sometimes we have to put like a strong face and never to show a weakness, if you will. And over the years, I realized that showing weakness is a strength, because it makes you more approachable and authentic to yourself. And that in itself allows other people to connect with you, and to the people that I'm managing to connect with me, to be loyal to me more than the company, which sometimes you can lose sight of it, right? Because it's the day-to-day life that you're going through. So this is how I overcame them. I think just like realizing that it's okay to say I'm not sure. It's okay to say I don't know the best way to do this or that, or to say I'm new to this. I feel like sometimes we're coming with the attitude that yeah, we know everything and I can lead the way, and it's okay. You can lead even by knowing or learning things that you don't initially know how. And I think that was my main shifting point. Once I released that fear and didn't feel like I have to do everything by myself and I can depend on other people as well, especially people that I'm managing, it really allowed me to grow as a manager, as a person.
If I look back at the first year of my career, one challenge I faced was being a woman in an industry dominated by men. But I have to say that this actually gave me the extra strength and motivation to be even more successful, to push myself forward all the time. And today I'm very proud to say that the majority of Taptica's executives are females, which is a huge win. But if I look at my other challenges, I think that my biggest one was definitely moving to the US as a new manager in a new country, new continent for me. And so now my new goal was to be able to settle in, to learn a new culture, both in business and in my personal life. And my new challenge was to be in a spot where I need to relearn a lot of the stuff I already felt confident about. Only this time it was in a different market. There was a lot to absorb. And again, I used to be in a position where things moved way faster for me. So that was a really interesting challenge, and sometimes it was really hard. There was a lot to adjust to. But with that, I'm very happy to say that I was lucky enough to catch up fast. And really fell in love with my new environment eventually, and the workplace culture. So I guess as always, but the challenge turned out to be just another step in my professional career and even in my personal development.
Rebecca Waring. Something that I wanted to speak with you about is, so you talked about sort of entering the industry and how your boss sort of took a chance on you because you had a different background. Now, actually, that boss that brought you into the business is no longer with the business, and you lead that team. How do you sort of feel as a woman leader? Do you feel different, like life would be different for you if you were a man? And how do you think, the skills that you have potentially as a woman, but they could just be your skills, have helped you sort of traverse leadership and management?
Wow, that is a big question. I think my first ever boss at Comscore was a woman, and she was a very strong female leader. And she is a really big inspiration to me. And she gave me some really good tips right from the start, like about, I think some of my skills are like, I'm really into connecting with people. And I think that's really important in our industry, but probably most industries. But to be a leader, you do have to be able to have a bit of separation as well. So I remember in that company, we were going through some quite hard times. We were like doing an acquisition, and a lot of people on the team were quite unhappy. And I just remember one of the team members said to her, like, don't you feel really bad about how unhappy everyone is? Or like, don't you feel like really, really awful about how difficult the situation is? And she just said, no, like, it's my job as a leader to deal with these challenges. And I enjoy the challenge. I was like, wow, that's amazing. And so I think that's a really important skill, is just not taking things personally. So like, on the one hand, you have warm relationships with people where you can, but then on the other hand, you do have to have like a bigger picture, more logical, rational understanding of the situation that you're working in. I think that's really, really useful, and it's useful for taking the heat out of situations as well when you're getting too stressed. But I would say,
'cause it's like,
it's like getting ahead at Unruly. I've had to just basically throw myself into a lot of uncomfortable situations, and that's something when I was thinking about this, I was just remembering all these incidents from my past. Like this one time, like when I was working in France, everyone was going horse riding in the mountains, and they were like, "Oh, do you want to come? You know how to ride a horse, right?" I was like, "Yeah, of course." And I didn't know how to ride a horse at all. And everyone was like riding without saddles, like holding onto the horse's mane. It was really, really crazy. And I think a lot of things like that, if you throw yourself into them, even the scary things, you have these amazing experiences, makes you a lot stronger. Before my boss at Unruly left the business, he went on sabbatical for 3 months, and I had to take over his role then as well. And that's an example of something that was really, really scary, but I just said yes to, and I was like, I'll figure it out.
and you did, right?
Yeah, but it was really, really stressful. Like I do remember kind of halfway through that period, because I had a lot of things that I wasn't prepared for, things like, handling budgets that I'd never done before, or things like GDPR was coming in, which probably won't mean anything to anyone outside us lot. But at the time, I was really worried that GDPR was going to go terribly wrong, and I was somehow going to get arrested or something, because the pressure was quite like intense. And so I did get really stressed. I just remember going to this yoga class and kind of like on the end, I was just there like, but yeah, you just pick yourself up and keep going.
I think that's a thing that's sort of running through what everybody's saying is like, sometimes your job or work everything isn't always gravy, but it's also about just, perseverance and just keep going.
So I came to realization that in order to succeed, I need to do 3 things: learn, learn, learn. Because knowledge equals power. And when you come to a new place, a new country, even a new company, spending time learning and gaining knowledge will eventually give you the self-confidence to do what you do just better. And of course, overcome every obstacle you may face. And I realized how truly important that was when I faced the challenging points in my career. And I truly think that it is all about the power of learning and the knowledge you gain. That's where your focus should be at.
So guys, one of the things that I think would be really interesting to sort of explore is like, if you could go back in time and have a chat with your 15 or 16-year-old self, like what advice would you give that girl?
I think it would have to be something about, because obviously as a teenager, you can be very idealistic, and I think to navigate the world of work, you have to think, not just thinking about like how things should be or how things, like the picture of things you have for your future, and it's more like looking at what's in front of you, and it's like, okay, what is the opportunity that is in front of me here? And sometimes you have to think laterally to get to what you want. So yeah, I would say it's about kind of seeing things for what they are and looking at the opportunity. And also, I guess, like advice that my parents gave to me at the time when I was looking for a job after university, and I was worried I was never going to find anything. You will find something eventually. And I didn't really listen to them at the time, but it's true that you might have to try a lot of different things before you get into your groove.
I guess just realizing that it's okay not to be entirely perfect. I think starting my career, I thought I just had to like enter the world of work knowing everything I needed to know to be able to do my job. And what I realized is every time I started a new job, there was so much I just had to learn, that you realize that it's okay to like not know things, and it's okay to be vulnerable in situations, and it's okay to sometimes feel stupid and be like, I don't know what's going on, but you learn. And just being open to learn, I think, are also like sort of the saying of like under promise and over deliver. I think I took that way too seriously, where I almost downplayed my abilities and skills in the beginning of my career. because I didn't want to disappoint people. But sometimes, like Becky was saying, it's just like jump into situations and take a chance and just be like, oh, figure it out. And being confident in your own ability to figure that out is what I've learned over the years. And that has really helped me grow and learn and get into newer and more exciting situations with my career.
Yeah, I mean, I would totally echo what Becky and Z just said. I think for me, thinking back to me at like 15, 16, something that I'd probably say if it was me now is uni might not necessarily be the be all and end all for everyone. I think that's really changed since we were 15/16. Now, that's not to say that I regret going to uni, because I really, really don't. I think it was a fantastic experience for me. I loved my degree. I moved from Newcastle to London to do my degree, and I don't think I would have moved to London without that kind of uni comfort blanket. So for me, it was brilliant. But do I think that it was absolutely vital to get me the job I've got today? I don't know if it was. So I would probably say, yeah, you know, really consider all of the different options. And I think there really, truly are a lot more options now. And it's not necessarily that every single person has to go to university, because I think there are lots of other ways of getting into careers, particularly in media, if that's something you were interested in, without that path. I do think it was right for me, but I don't think it's probably right for everyone. You know, we've just had a girl join our team as an intern, and she hasn't been to uni. She's come straight from sixth form, and you know, she's absolutely loving it and is doing great. So yeah, I think if it was me, if I was 15, 16 now, I would really want to really consider that decision and think, is that the right decision? And maybe it still would be, or would I actually prefer to just maybe get an internship or a part-time job and see where that route would take me? Because I do think there really are lots of different options, and you should consider them all.
I think, Jess, that's such a valid point, because I think there's so many different ways to get into the world of work these days. And, you know, I loved uni as well. Like, uni was a big part of, like, a lot of my friends that are some of my dearest friends now, I met at uni. So I loved that for me. But I also recognise that not everybody is you know, incredibly academic. So I think that is such a valid point about just having a look at alternative ways of getting into work, because yeah, things might not work out for certain people with their A levels and stuff like that, but you will get a job and things will be okay. Like, that's the way life is. There's a path for everyone. And I was talking to in another interview that we did earlier on today, and I was saying that life isn't just now like this, like it's not linear. Like, your career can be very squiggly, and that can be the same with your education. You can do different things before you get to your ultimate place. And actually, I think just chatting this conversation, we've all seen that, you know, we had different paths and we thought things were going to go in different directions, but we've just adapted and changed as opportunities have come into our lives, and that's kind of worked out for us. And last but not least, Ashley Bateman, what would you say to your 15-year-old self?
So yeah, similar vein to what you were talking about, really, is you know, don't put too much pressure on yourself. You know, when you're the age that you guys are, you know, having that 5 to 10 year plan is, you know, some people have it, but a lot of people don't. So I think the things that I've done is I just did the right thing at the right time. If it feels right, do it. I think throughout a lot of my decisions I've made throughout my career, I've trusted my gut, and your gut is so important. And I've said no to things, and then it's further down the line, you know, stuff's opened up, and I've been like, oh my God, I'm so glad I trust my gut on it, because I actually have a better opportunity ahead, which is better suited to me. So always trust your gut. You know, you don't have to have some, you know, insane, you know, 10, 20 year plan ahead of you. like you said, Lou, you kind of weave along, and all the decisions that you do along that way are the decisions that you've made that felt right at that right time. And I think when you look back at that, you can't say that that was the wrong thing to do. Another thing that I would definitely tell myself, and something that's really helped me, is, start building your network. So, within your career, you'll have lots of different networks. That might be, your uni friends, it might be your home friends, it might be your old kind of work friends. But all of those, the people you meet along the way, all of them will give you really important advice. So also when I'm fronted with opportunities, it's quite often we won't always make them by ourselves as well. We'll speak to people that are trusted advisors and say, is this right? And you'll know for different opportunities which people within your network you should be speaking to. And networks are really important. It's at the moment where there's redundancies in market, having that network where you can speak to people. There might be a job opening, or a friend or a colleague that can put you in touch with someone else for a new role. Building that network is really important. I think especially over the last year, I've really tapped into that, especially when you're leading a team as well, and you don't necessarily know all of the answers being a leader, but everyone's looking up to you as if you should. You're the one that's leading the ship. But within my network, I've spoken to a few mentors of mine that will really help kind of affirm some of the things that I'm thinking as well. So yeah, building that network as you go along is will be really useful.
Cool. So I think that's a really important point to end on, because I think it's a really important thing is building out your network, making sure that you have a circle of people around you that you can call on when you need advice. And I would say whether that be your family or your friends or extended people, it's definitely something that I think helped me throughout my career as well. So I'd echo those thoughts.
I'd say, follow your passion in terms of what you want to do. So for me, I knew that I loved the world of publishing and journalism, as I said before. So that kind of helped steer me in terms of the subject areas that I studied in, but also the kind of jobs that I applied for from then on, because I felt like if it's something I was really interested in, that was going to be an area I would excel at, and that's where I needed to be. I didn't quite know exactly the job because I didn't turn out to be a journalist. I went into the advertising side of that business, but I knew that was a place I wanted to be in and learn about. So definitely follow your gut and your instinct and your passion when you're looking at the jobs that you want to go into. And the other thing I was saying was just reach out to people to do research. You can read online, you can read reviews. I mean, I'm so old that we didn't really have those things when I was starting out, but you guys definitely have lots of information. But there really is nothing like getting information from a person. And if you just drop them a line on LinkedIn or over an email, if there's someone that you see who has a job role that you'd be quite interested in for yourself, or works at a company that you've been looking at, just see if they've got time for a coffee. You'd be amazed how many people are really happy to give you that time, and it can really steer you in the right direction. Or they may know someone that works at a company that is a good fit for you, and you get your intro that way. But believe in the power of people, because there are a lot of good people out there that really want to help the next generation in our industry. I'm definitely one of them. So if I can help in any way, if someone reached out to me, I'd always have time for a coffee and a chat. I'd love that, because people have done that for me.
I think that's so important. I think both you and I do, we're part of different organisations that help women within the industry and different groups. And I just think it's so important to help people throughout their career and really help, people that might want to get into our industry, because our industry will flourish when we've got like different people with different ideas and different viewpoints from different walks of life.
If I were to speak to my younger self, one very valuable advice I would give myself is that your thoughts and beliefs should outweigh others' opinions always. my life experience has taught me that people, all of us, seek confirmations from their environments, from very early stages in life, by the way. And I think that listening to your inner voice, believing in yourself without seeking the approval of others all the time is huge and just so empowering. So yeah, trust your guts, trust your instincts. Obviously, don't let anyone undermine your worth and how valuable you are. And I know it's not so easy to understand that, especially in a younger age. But even just appreciating the value behind it, in my eyes, is a great first step.
But thanks, everyone. Thank you so much for your time today. I've really enjoyed hearing all your stories. There's so many things I didn't know about you. I didn't know, Becky, that you could speak Spanish, Jess. I didn't know that you that did drama. Z, I didn't know that you had only been working in the team for a year before you took over the helm of the whole ship. So, and I actually know Ashley quite well, so I know quite a lot about her. But yeah, I really enjoyed speaking to you all today, and thanks very much for your time.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
But Nikki, I've loved chatting with you today. Thank you so much for taking your time out to do this. And I'm sure the girls will love what we've spoken about.
Thank you. See you soon.
Trust yourself. Ladies, I hope you enjoyed this, and I trust you. I trust each and every one of you. Have a good day.